Okay, picture this. You open a letter from the FERS, and right there in black and white is a tax assessment that literally wipes out your company's entire profit for the year. Terrifying, right? I mean, totally panic-inducing. But hold on, don't panic just yet, because today we're diving into exactly how you can systematically and totally legally fight back. Welcome to this explainer.
So what do you actually do when that tax bill is just outrageously high? You can't just complain about it, and you absolutely cannot just ignore it, hoping it magically goes away. Well, as it turns out, there's a highly specific, step-by-step procedural survival guide to defending your hard-earned profits. So let's figure this whole thing out together.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the initial tax objection, then move on to the fears review and refusal. After that, we hit the tax appeal tribunal, and finally, appealing to higher courts.
All right, part 1, the initial tax objection. Beat the clock.
Listen, the very second that disputed assessment hits your desk, an invisible countdown starts ticking. And the magic number here? 30. Under Nigerian tax law, you have exactly 30 days from the date of service to file your objection. Now, notice I said date of service, not 30 days from when you actually get around to reading it. If you wait until day 31, yeah, you completely lose your right to fight. It is absolutely that strict.
And honestly, the strictness doesn't even stop at the deadline. Section 69 of the Companies Income Tax Act lays out a hyper-specific checklist for your objection. It has to be in writing, it must be addressed directly to the chairman of the FIRS, and you have to deliver it in person, by courier, or electronically. But here's the real kicker. You can't just write a letter saying, hey, this is way too high. No way. You literally have to state your exact assessable profits and the exact amount of tax you claim is actually payable. If you miss even one tiny detail, the whole objection gets thrown out. Invalid.
Moving on to part 2. First review and refusal, the crossroads.
Okay, so let's say you've submitted your perfectly formatted, perfectly on-time objection letter. Great. But now what? Well, the IRS doesn't just take your word for it, right? They actually have incredible investigative powers. They can demand to see all your accounting books, they can summon literally anyone they think might have evidence, and get this, they can even force that evidence to be given under oath. So yeah, this isn't just some casual review over a cup of coffee, it is a full-blown, serious audit.
Now, this intense review really only leads to one of two outcomes. On one side, the ideal scenario, agreement. You and the FIRS sit down, you agree on the liable amount, the assessment gets amended, and boom, you get a new notice. Happy days. But what if there's disagreement? Well, that's when the administrative gloves come off. The FIRS will officially issue what's called a notice of refusal to amend. Basically, they revise the assessment based on their own quote-unquote best judgment. Which brings us to part 3, the tax appeal tribunal, escalating the fight.
Look, getting that notice of refusal means the friendly administrative phase is totally over. To keep fighting, you now have exactly 30 days to escalate this whole thing to the tribunal. The mechanics themselves are pretty straightforward. A 7-day notice is given to both parties, and then a hearing happens, which, by the way, thanks to recent updates, can even be virtual now. But here is the absolutely crucial and honestly terrifying part. The onus of proof falls entirely on you. The FIRS doesn't have to prove their assessment is right, you have to prove they are wrong. It's a steep uphill battle. Oh, and before that hearing even kicks off, things can get unbelievably expensive. Let's say the FIRS proves you didn't file your returns properly, or they claim your appeal is just frivolous. Well, the tribunal can actually order you to pay a massive security deposit up front. It's wild. They look at two options, either the total tax you paid in the preceding year, or half of the disputed tax plus a 10% deposit. And you have to pay whichever of those two amounts is lower, just to get your foot in the door to argue your case. So, eventually, the tribunal is going to make its decision. They can confirm the assessment, reduce it, increase it, or completely annul it. You'll get a certified true copy of this decision within 3 months. But you guys, here is a massive reality check. Whatever tax amount the tribunal determines, you have to pay it within 1 single month. And yes, that rule absolutely stands even if you're planning to appeal to a higher court. You literally have to pay up while you keep fighting.
All right, final section, part 4. Appealing to higher courts, the final battlegrounds. So what happens when the tribunal doesn't give you the relief you need? You turn to the formal judicial system. Once again, you are looking at a strict 30-day window to appeal, this time to the federal high court. And honestly, surprisingly enough, the monetary threshold to do this is incredibly low. We're talking a minimum of just 400 naira. Crazy, right? If you lose there, you get another 30 days to push it to the Court of Appeal, where the minimum dispute jumps to a whopping
1,000 naira. Ultimately, this ladder of justice leads all the way up to the Supreme Court of Nigeria.
But wait, there is a massive, massive catch as you climb this judicial ladder. Appeals to these higher courts, from the federal high court on up, they have to be strictly based on points of law. Meaning, once you leave the tribunal, you are totally done arguing about raw math, missing receipts, or the basic everyday facts of your profits. You can't bring that up anymore. Now, you are strictly arguing about how the lower courts actually applied or misinterpreted the law itself. It's a completely different ballgame.
To really put this entire grueling process into perspective, consider this incredibly sobering advice from a seasoned tax consultant. They say if there's any genuine reason for the increase in the assessment, the taxpayer will be advised not to pursue the disputed assessment, but to make payment without any further delay. Look, fighting the fires is exhausting. It's expensive. And remember, the burden of proof is entirely on your shoulders. You really only want to go down this path if your foundation is absolutely 100% rock solid.
So we end right back where we began. If the FIRS handed your company a totally inflated tax bill tomorrow morning, are you actually prepared to defend your profits? Do you know exactly how to beat that strict 30-day clock? Are your books organized enough for an oath-bound FIRS review? Because understanding this exact procedural hierarchy, well, it might just be the only way to ensure your business survives. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and keep learning.